Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jacob and Jacob podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Pear. As always, joined by my co-host, Jacob Obam. And today, we are honored to be joined by one of the greatest players in NBA history, Rick Barry. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, guys. As I said to you before we came on the air, I really admire young people who have some initiative and get out there and try to go after doing something that they would, like to do. And so, congratulations to you guys on that.
So, Rick, something that you like to do is a sport called pickleball. So, was this something that you picked up during COVID, before COVID, and how did you get into the sport?
Yeah, well, actually, I just got done playing pickleball this morning, uh, and I'm heading out tomorrow to go play in the PPA event down in San Clemente. I do work for Medicaleaf, a CBD company that's the official CBD company for the Professional Pickleball Association. So I get to go to the tournaments. I do some work for the company, but I get to play, and I get to play doubles, and I get to play. I don't play singles; it's too hard on my body. But doubles and men's and doubles and mixed. And so I've been fortunate enough to win a bunch of tournaments. But my wife was the one 2 years ago they got me. This is my third year. She's the one that said, you ought to try pickleball, because we played tennis together, played a lot of tennis. In fact, she and I, when we were dating, won the Colorado Springs mixed doubles championship playing tennis. She's a great athlete as well, an All-America player at William and Mary, and only woman to have her jersey retired. She's a great athlete. In fact, I'm really proud of the fact that she and my son Canyon are the only mother and son combination in NCAA Division I history to have a mother be a two-time first-team academic All-America and have a son be a first-team two-time academic All-America. And Canyon was also the academic All-America Player of the Year last year when he was at Florida. So very proud of that. But yeah, it was my wife that got me into it. I love the game, a lot of fun. I've won a couple of gold medals at the U.S. Open in my divisions, and I've won a lot of other tournaments. And I actually have to play down. I mean, I'm an old guy right now, and it's hard for me to find somebody my age that can play worth a damn. So I've played in the 60 plus. I've played in the 50 plus. In fact, down in San Clemente on Saturday, I'm going to be playing with a partner of mine that I played with when I down in Florida. I spent half the year in Florida, and he was the first guy that invited me to play with him in a tournament, which was quite an honor because he's a really good player and he's in his 50s. And I said, well, I told my wife, I said, honey, I must be playing pretty good because he's a good player. And I don't think he would ask me to play with him in a tournament if he didn't think I could play well enough for him to win. And we wound up winning that tournament. So we're going to be playing together in San Clemente. Jeff Johnson is the guy's name. So yeah, I love the game. I mean, I'm around it all the time. In fact, I'm starting something up that you guys should check out. It's going to be up on the internet pretty quickly, called pickleballconnections.com. Pickleball Connections. And so if you go to pickleballconnections.com, you can check it out. We're trying to put the pickleball community together and run something really special for them. And I'm trying to really immerse myself in the world of pickleball. And so I'm lucky enough to be with Engage, who gives me some great equipment, especially the paddles. Paddle is a very important part of it, obviously. And I can't wait to get the new paddle that's coming out. I haven't got it yet. I'm a little disappointed because I wanted to play with it in these tournaments that I'm playing down in Southern California. But yeah, great sport. Check it out. It's the fastest growing sport in America. And it's really doesn't beat your body up like tennis does. And I think it's going to become incredibly popular as time goes on. I love watching it. I love playing it. And I think you could get, pardon the pun, but because I love fishing too, hooked on it.
Yeah, we've played it in gym class a few times. It's
Oh,
pretty
really?
fun.
Yeah, it really is. And then you get outside and play it. Of course, sometimes if the wind comes up, it's always an adventure with a pickleball because the wind can have a major impact on that pickleball when you're that little wiffle ball when you're trying to use it. But it's really, really a fun game. The only drawback to it is the same in any kind of sport. I don't care whether you're playing basketball or it's playing tennis, whatever. You can't play against somebody who's not as good as you are. I mean, in the same league, because it's just not any fun. I mean, you're going to win. It's no challenge. And so they have the rankings, and from a 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and you keep going up. And then they have the age categories, which makes a lot of sense. So it's really good in that respect. But yeah, I mean, and the nice thing about it, the younger people, guys your age and even younger, are really starting to get into it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So let's shift into your NBA career a little bit. You're known as one of the greatest free throw shooters in the history of the NBA, and you did that shooting free throws underhand. How did you develop that technique?
Well, it was my father who taught me how to do it. He was a semi-pro player and coach, and I still to this day, someday maybe I'll be energetic and I'll really look up and try to find out whether I did it before my junior or senior year in high school. I'd have to go back and find out if the records haven't all deteriorated back that far away and see what my record was for free throws when I was a junior in high school, and see if I was 80% from the free throw line, then I made the switch before my junior year. And if it's 80 in my senior year, then I'll know I made it before my senior year, because I had never shot in the 80s. And my dad said, son, you could probably shoot better and make a higher percentage. And I said, Dad, I can't be doing that. That's the girls shoot that way. I mean, everybody's gonna make fun of me. And I remember like it was yesterday. He said, son, they can't make fun of you if you're making them. And I remember the first game that I played on the road. Again, I don't remember it was junior or senior year, but I was in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. I even remember the city. And I was shooting some free throws later in the game, and a guy from the stands yells out, hey, you big sissy, shooting like that. And I heard the guy next to him, just as clear as a bell, say to this guy, what are you making fun of him for? He doesn't miss. And so from that point on, I was cool, and never really bothered me. And you have to be a person of conviction. If you believe in something, as long as you're not doing something illegal, you should put every effort you can into it and try to get to be as good as you can at it. I just wish that I had been intelligent enough to do what I did really late in my career, because I started that in high school. And now we're talking about when I was, in my 30s, that I decided, I think maybe I can make this better than what it is. And I was already getting up, in the high 80s and up to towards 90. And I changed the technique just a little bit. I took the wrist out of the shot. And in fact, that's why I still think I'm the best one shooting free throws, because nobody's had a percentage higher than that. My last 6 years, I shot over 92%. In my last 2 years, I shot over 94%. And I take great pride in that and brag about it, because it's the only part of the game of basketball that you can be selfish and help your team. Mm-hmm. And it's the only part of the game of basketball that's always the same size ball, same distance, same size basket every time you shoot it. How in the world does these guys live with themselves if you can't make at least 80%, 4 out of every 5 shots? I mean, that's pathetic. I mean, it's so sad to see that happening, and it cost your team games. I mean, just look at last night, right? Come on. Come on. Paul George, 84% free throws shooter, misses 2 critical free throws, cost his team a game in the playoffs. So that's how critical it can be. And so, I don't know why people have this aversion to wanting to try it. My oldest son, Scooter, shot it exceptionally well. And I said, son, why are you going to do this? He said, Dad, it's hard enough being your son without shooting free throws underhanded. I said, well, that might be true, but if you could shoot a higher percentage, you're doing yourself and your team a disservice. And then my son, Brent, was shooting it well and shooting up in the high 80s. And he stopped doing it. He got mad at me for some reason, I think. And so he said, well, I'm not going to shoot him this way, which was kind of stupid. But I never said anything to either of them, because they were still in the 80s. I mean, they were still good free throw shooters, but they could have been better. And so you should always be striving to get better and do it that way. And of course, my youngest son, Canyon, he's been as high as 90%. And had the record at Florida for the most consecutive free throws made in game competition. And he's got it down really, really well right now. So he's an outstanding free throw shooter. In fact, in the G League this year, why he's not in the NBA, I don't know, but he was in the G League, and he didn't miss a free throw the entire season.
So you talked about those being able to help your team, and there's a guy, he's been criticized his whole career, basically, Ben Simmons. We talked about it earlier that we're from Philly, so obviously we're huge Sixers fans. Have you ever seen a situation like Ben Simmons before? And do you think he could ever improve his shot?
That's a head case. That's a head thing. The same thing with Giannis. He shoots high percentage in practice and doing stuff. You get in the game, and all of a sudden you don't have the mental strength and confidence to be able to go up there and just do what you've practiced to do. And so that they need to work on trying to go ahead and overcome that. And Ben Simmons' case, it's such a shame, because he does so many other things with his size and the way he sees the floor. He's kind of like a taller version of Magic Johnson in a way, but he just can't shoot like Magic. Magic wasn't a great super shooter, but Magic could shoot and score. I mean, hell, Ben, in that one last game, he had a dunk that he didn't take and passed it up because he didn't want to get fouled. I mean, that's sad. I mean, really sad. So I think my son, I told some people about, to reach out, that he should come and try to learn how to shoot underhanded free throws. It would help him. Plus, I even help him with his shot alone, just to teach him how to shoot the ball better. And my son, Canyon, could do that for him. And Canyon would probably be even better, because Canyon had to make an adjustment, because the way I did it, I played with much shorter shorts. And so I can hold the ball closer to my body. And he said, Dad, when I try to do this, my shorts get in the way. The ball hits the shorts when I take the knee bend. And so he had to learn to hold it out away from himself a little bit. I think, to be honest with you, that makes it a little bit more difficult because that's not a natural. See, my arms are totally just straight, relaxed, hanging down. In his case, he has to make a little bit of adjustment. It's not totally and completely fully natural. It's close enough, obviously, that he's perfected it quite well. But it's a great way to shoot him. If the ball was much softer, physicists have come out and done surveys and studies on it, and they all agree that it's the most efficient way to shoot it, and it's the softest shot that you're going to have. And yet, guys are reluctant to do it. Why? I don't know. I mean, Shaq said, "Yeah, I'm a hip hop kind of guy, Rick, and that'd be bad for my image." And I wanted to say something to him, but he's so big and strong. I wanted to, figure I might have insulted him. I said, "Well, what do you think your image is now? For God's sake, people think you're a buffoon up there shooting those bricks." But I didn't want to say that to him. And it's his choice not to do it. But Shaq would have won more championships. He would have been the GOAT. Instead of going to the bench, he would have been going to the free throw line, because if they fouled him, game is over. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's so big and powerful. Just throw it to him down in the post, and at the end of a game, if he's an 80% or better free throw shooter, the game is over. Mm-hmm. Again, no chance.
Do you think people don't shoot underhand because of an image thing and ego?
What was that? I moved and my chair was squeaking and I didn't hear you.
Do you think people don't shoot free throws underhand because of ego and image?
I think it has to be the case. I can't answer that for them, but I think that's the case. They think that people are going to make fun of them, just like I felt that way. But why? Why would they make fun of you? But although people say, "Oh, Granny stuff," but why would somebody make fun of you if you're making your free throws? Just like my dad said. Mm-hmm. If you're making your free throws, how can you make fun of somebody because they happen to be doing it in an unorthodox fashion? What difference does it make? I said, if you can stand there with your back to the basket and throw it over your head, and you can make 80% or more, and better than any other way you try it, then do it that way. What difference does it make? None.
Yeah, and when you talk about Ben Simmons, when he shoots the ball from the free throw line now, his form looks unorthodox enough. It'll probably look even better if he shot it underhand.
Well, I think he's definitely a candidate for it without question, but he has to want to do it and be willing to put the time and effort into it. I didn't want to do it. I only did it to get my father off my butt because he was driving me crazy about it. But to my credit, I did give it a sincere effort. I didn't just go out there and BS around. I mean, I went and listened to him, and I tried it, and I worked at it, and I did it. And all of a sudden, when I started doing it, I said, "This is pretty good." And I think Ben would feel the same way. I've only had one player ever come to me about doing it. I won't mention his name, but he never had enough guts. I had him shooting over 80% by the time he left me, but he never had the guts when he went back to his team to training camp to do it.
Now, Rick, I want to move on to something else. So you were the guy in the NBA who never shot away from the big moment, either dropping or averaging 40 in the finals, beating Bill Russell and Oscar in the All-Star game, or winning the finals MVP. Do you believe that you were the original Mamba mentality?
I think there's probably a lot of players that had a great mentality as far as just being aggressive. I mean, that's what my father always taught me, who was a semi-pro player and coach, as I mentioned. So when you get the ball, you have to be aggressive and you have to look to find a way to score and try to score when you get the ball in your hands, provided one thing: you don't have a teammate in a better position. And if a teammate is in a better position, he gets the ball. That's playing aggressive but unselfish. And, I hear a lot of the stuff the announcers, "Well, it was a great pass. He made the extra pass and the shot happened to go in." Well, a lot of times the shot doesn't go in. The extra pass is worthless. If I'm a better shooter from 18 feet than my teammate is from 10 feet, I should not throw the ball to my guy open at 10 if I can shoot it from 18. It's a matter of who are you throwing it to? What is the situation? So if somebody is a good shooter, now if I'm not open, boom, yeah, I'm going to get him the ball and hopefully he's going to make it. But then again, if I know my teammate is not a good three-point shooter and he's wide open in the corner for a three, and he's not a good three-point shooter, it's not necessarily a good pass to throw it to him to give him a shot. I might be better off driving and trying to get fouled or creating something else for one of my other teammates than a guy that I know can't shoot it worth a damn.
Now, back then, the MVP was voted on by the players, and that style of play wasn't so popular among players back then.
Oh, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Here's the deal. That's you talk about luck. So the MVP of the NBA, was getting the sponsor was Chevy, and you got a Corvette if you were MVP. The year that I won MVP, they changed sponsors and they got an American Motor Company, and it was a AMC Pacer I got for MVP instead of a Corvette. Now, as far as the MVP of the season goes, it always had been the writers. The writers voted for the MVP of the season. Okay, they have a certain group of guys that are there, and they come in and they do their voting. that year, they changed the voting for the first time to the players, which is the worst possible thing you can do because players get up, they don't like somebody else. I mean, they're not going to vote for you if they don't like you. We're the writers, it doesn't matter. But in some cases, if the writer doesn't like you, he's liable to be stupid enough and petty enough to maybe not vote for you. But generally speaking, you're going to get the vote. And so I didn't even come in second. I mean, I had a hell of a year. I mean, I should have been the MVP. There's no question about it because in the voting of the writers picked the first team All-Pro. I was the only unanimous choice. Does that tell you who the MVP probably would have been if the writers had been voting? I mean, I should have been the MVP, but I wasn't, but it's okay because I didn't play for individual awards. I played to try to win championships. That's what it's all about. Individual awards are not what you play for. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of those, leading scorer, free throw percentage, steals, things of that nature. But that's not what I play for. I mean, I've learned more about myself and what I did in my career in the last few years than I ever knew. I just got something the other day that somebody said to me. My wife said it to me. I had no idea that I think what it was, I think, yeah, I had more 40-point games in my first year in the playoffs than any other player. I mean, by, like 5, and the next one was like 3 or 2. I mean, so, and all this stuff comes up because they write about statistically, they're so statistically and analytics and all the other garbage. I didn't know I did half these things that I saw. I see it on the new, I'm watching the game and all of a sudden I see my name pop up. Oh, well, he joined Rick Barry and so for having done this, that, or I said, well, wow, I never knew I did that because I never paid any attention to that. I just played to play as well as I can play every time I put my uniform on and to play to win. And like you say about the situations with the mentality, I tell people, if I had control of every game I ever played in my life, I would have hoped that every game came down to the last 10 seconds with the game on the line and I'd want the ball in my hands. Because here's the deal. One of the most overused words, and this, guys, if you guys go into broadcasting, please stay away from this thing. This one word. This is the most overused words in sports lexicon. Pressure. Oh my God, even listening to this thing last night. Pressure this, pressure that, pressure. Guys, the reality of it is pressure does not exist in the real world unless something makes it happen, okay? It's not like just there, okay? Same thing, a pressure cooker. Well, you got to build it up into a pot to create the pressure for it. What's happening in life is that you will be called upon in your lifetime to sometimes have to do things under very, very critical situations. And it's very important. Let's say you're a salesperson. You have to put a presentation together for the biggest contract your company's ever had, right? That's an enormous responsibility, right? Is it pressure? Not if you have confidence in your ability to do what it is you've trained to do. I mean, I trained to be able to play the game of basketball. I want the ball in my hands. I wanted to be able to score. I wanted to get a pass to my teammate. Did I do it every time? No, but I felt I was going to either make the basket or get the pass to a teammate in a position that he could score and we could win the basketball game. And you have to believe that, and you can't be afraid to fail. But that's what it is. It's confidence eliminates pressure from your life. I can't emphasize that enough to anybody listening. Learn whatever it is, the skill or the profession that you're in. Become as good as you can in it. Never be satisfied. Always learning. Just like me, I was a better free throw shooter at the end of my career than I was at the beginning. Why? Because I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. I was always trying to get better. And so that's what you always want to try to do and eliminate pressure from the equation. And so I've never in my life ever felt pressure on a basketball court, ever. So I hate it when I hear these announcers say, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I wish I could get on with Stephen A. Smith and those other idiots that are out there. I mean, there's some of these guys, they get paid a lot of money, and your opinion is just as valid as their opinion. There's somebody who watches sports and happen to get lucky enough for somebody to pay him to either write about it or now talk about it. But what makes their opinion better than your opinion? The fact that they're getting paid? No, it's just they're lucky. That's all. Now, my opinion, I think it's a hell of a lot more important than their opinion. And I think I know a little bit more than they do about it because I've done it. They haven't done it. I keep hearing them talk about all of this stuff. I mean, it's so absurd. And then say, oh, well, it's so ridiculous. They got to change this thing. And, they're taking too long to do all the replays. It's screwing up the flow of the game. Listen, if you're a player and you have spent the entire season putting your heart, body, and soul into trying to win a championship, and there's an opportunity because of replay to be able to make sure that the play is called correctly, and if it's not called correctly, it could cost you a chance to be a champion, I want them to use replay. And now, okay, screw up my tempo and stuff. I want that call to make sure it's right, because if it's wrong, it could cost us the championship. But I just put my whole damn life on the line in the whole season, and I'm going to have it determined by a bad call, and because it takes a little bit of time. Now, I do admit, I don't know what the hell they're doing back at NBA Central. How in the world are they taking that much time to go and look at a replay? I mean, my God, it only takes you one time, one angle, you see it, boom, it's done. Shouldn't take them very long. And I remember I saw it 3 times on TV before those guys with the officials even saw it on the monitor down by the scorer's table, and it's taken forever. That's what needs to be cleaned up.
For sure, for sure. So I want to move on and ask you a question. You shifted from the NBA to the ABA, and it completely just shocked the sports world. Why did you decide to make that decision? And talk about the level of competition in each league?
Well, there's no doubt that the NBA was the greatest league. I mean, the ABA had a lot of great players and eventually had some very good teams, but I mean, it was certainly an inferior league to the NBA. But basketball had always been fun for me, okay? And even though it was my job and I was getting paid to play, I didn't look at it as a job. In fact, actually, I tell young kids, if you're ever going to get anything out of what I'm telling you here today, I tell them, get this, find something you have a love and a passion for. Learn as much about it as you possibly can. Never be satisfied. Always trying to improve, because then you'll be like me. You'll be lucky in life. Someone is going to pay you to do what it is you love. That's not working for a living. Working for a living is someone gets up in the morning and says, I got to go to work today. No, I said, hey, I get to go play basketball today, and somebody's stupid enough to pay me. Now, they forgot 3 zeros on my contract when I played, but it still was a great life, and I really enjoyed it. So, I mean, that's kind of the way, that's just the way it should be. I mean, that's life.
Well, Rick, we want to thank you so much for coming on today. But before we let you go, we have one final question. You're a guy who's one of the greatest NBA players ever, so you probably have a strong opinion on this. Who do you believe is the greatest player in NBA history?
Okay, there you go. So you shouldn't even ask that question. Any team sport, you can never get the best player in a team sport. You have to go by positions. I hear it all the time. And it's another one that drives me crazy. It's one of the segments I have on my podcast when I do stuff on Warriors 24, is that you can't pick the best player. You can't compare Wilt Chamberlain to Jerry West or to LeBron James or to CP3 or to Steph Curry or any other player. You have to take all. You want to have a good conversation? Have a big conversation and a discussion about who's the best center to have ever played the game. Who's the best power forward? Who's the best 3? Who's the best 2? Who's the best 1? You can't compare people in other positions. It would be like saying Willie Mays was a better player than Sandy Koufax. No, one was a pitcher, one was a center fielder. So don't ever get yourself caught up in that. There's no such thing. And here's the thing that I laugh at all the time, the GOAT. Hey, when I was playing, if you were the GOAT, that means you sucked and you screwed up a game. You were the GOAT. They called you. Now it's the greatest of all time. So that shows you how times change from being the worst possible person. Now you become the best possible person. But don't get caught up in that, guys. Really, seriously, it's there is no greatest of all time. You can have that argument in golf, and you could have it in tennis. Why? Because hey, if you're the best, you beat the other people. I mean, it's pretty simple to figure out who the best is. Track and field, you ran the fastest, you're the best, right? You can't do that in basketball. You can't do that in baseball or football or hockey or any team sport. So that's a good one. But I get it all the time, and I give them the same answer I'm giving to you right now. You can't do that. There's no discussion to really have. It makes me nuts when I listen to these guys on TV. Well, he's the greatest. He's the best player in the league. No, he's the best at his position. He's not necessarily the best player, because there's different skills involved to play each position on the court. Now, some guys are versatile enough that they can play multiple positions, but you have to figure out what's their real natural position and how do they compare against other guys in that position. And that's the difference, how the game has changed a little bit. It's become such a 3-point shooting game and too much one-on-one stuff. I just don't like what I see a lot of times. And I wish I could be playing again now, not just for the money. I mean, to think that I would be 30 years old, I'd have a 5-year contract worth over $200 million guaranteed. But if I was playing, I would be a point guard. I was quicker than the guards when I was playing. I could handle the ball, but now they allow so much more with all the dribbling and the way they can handle it. But that's easy. All you do is you go into the gym and you put the time in, you do 2 ball drills and things. You can make your ball handling unbelievable just by spending the time to learn how to become better at it. But I would want to be the point guard. Why? Because I was the first point forward, so to speak. But because I would have such an impact on the game. I would control the destiny of my team because I'm the one that can score or get it to me. I would be a pass first point guard. I don't like this thing of the scoring point guard. I like the point guard who wants to get 15 to 20 assists. That's why I love Magic Johnson. I love Steve. I love Steve Nash and all about it. The guys that would rather get 15 assists than get 30 points. Now, they're good enough, and some of them are great enough to get 30 points and 15 assists and find a way to get 10 rebounds as point guards, which is really astonishing. I mean, what Russell Westbrook has done is incredible. The only difference being is that Russell Westbrook was trying to get triple doubles. Oscar Robertson wasn't. He was just playing. I mean, that's a big difference. But remarkable. I mean, what he was able to accomplish for a guy his size. But you can appreciate that. Now, that's a great discussion. Who's the best point guard of all time? You can have a great discussion about that. And here's the other thing. Don't get caught up in this if you guys are going into broadcasting with sports, especially basketball. I can't believe that they give extra points when they're rating people as to where they think they rate in basketball because they were on more championship teams. What the hell does that have to do with his ability as a player? I mean, I don't care how good you are and stuff. You still have to have teammates to help you win. You don't win championships by yourself. So because you're lucky enough to have been on a team with a lot of great players, like being on the Celtics team or something, or the Lakers in the 90s or whatever, or San Antonio. So all of a sudden you became a better player skill-wise because you happen to be on a team with great players? No. In fact, if anything, look and see, what did he do when he didn't have great players with him? Did he win championships then? And was he like the guy that helped him do that? You got to have teammates. I mean, I know I would have never won a championship in the NBA if it wasn't for my teammates. I mean, I stunk in the finals of Game 7 in the Western Conference. If it wasn't for my teammates, we would have never gotten to the finals where I won MVP. But my teammates got me there, not me. I stunk in Game 7. I was like 2 for 14, and fortunately played well in the last 6 minutes. But to Al Attle's credit, our coach, he took me out of the game for an extended period of time. I joked when I did a big thing for Al. They had a thing in San Francisco, and I said Al Attle's greatest decision as a coach was benching me in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. How many coaches would take out their leading scorer and best player and put him on the bench for probably over 8 or 9, 10 minutes or more in the Game 7? I mean, that's pretty gutsy.
Yeah,
What is the right move?
Absolutely. Well,
Hey, let
once
me
again,
tell everybody that's listening, if they want to do something, the website will be up and operational pretty quickly, I think, pretty soon. But Rick Barry 24, just keep checking it out, Rick Barry 24. I have a lot of things I'm involved in. There's a lot of great opportunities that are there for people to learn about some of the companies and products I'm involved with that I think could be very helpful for them for having a healthier life or just enjoying life in general. And so if you go to rickbarry24.com, that'll be up and operational, and you can look at all the different things I'm involved in, and you can even see sometimes if you wanted to wind up going on a fishing trip with me. That's one of my passions. I put fishing trips together to really some great lodges, especially up in Alaska, and people get an opportunity to go and spend some time and have a good time on a great fishing trip as well. So rickbarry24.com, check it out.
that link will be in the description of this video when we post it.
All right, guys, all the best to you.